There are moments throughout my day where my faith in humanity diminishes to a level in which it even makes me more depressed. This afternoon, when I was driving home from work, I noticed that there was a girl's head poking out from behind the Kroger sign as I pulled up to leave. And I looked at the girl and she looked like a normal person, right? From the shoulders up, she looked like a completely normal, average 20 something year old woman. But as I got closer and closer to her, I realized that what she was doing behind the sign was a number two. And you're like, well, how did you see that? She was crouched down, and as I gotten really close to her, as I got across from her, she was pulling her pants up and wiping her rear end. I'm like, well, like I say, when the world's your toilet, you have the ultimate freedom. When you're not restrained to using a public toilet, because a lot of businesses don't want people using their bathrooms. And as a person who's had to clean public bathrooms before, I can assure you, it gets really, really sketchy when you start letting transients use your bathrooms. So that was the first moment in which I lost my faith. And the second was I was talking to Gen Z this afternoon, and we were talking about, I was mentioning how I was going to go to the gym for the second time today after work. And I asked him if he did anything to enhance his personal appearance because we had had that conversation that I made the short about today about how we're all interested in dating Susie Rottencrotch because she's got the made up look, right? She's got the big hair, she's got the lip injection, she's got the fake bonkers, maybe even the fake rear end. She knows that she has to look a certain way in order to get a certain demographic of the proletariat to pay attention to her. But at the same time, we demonize people for looking like the character that we expect them to look like. She's not plain Jane. She's not one of those people who doesn't do her hair, doesn't wear makeup, doesn't work out, is overweight, looks poor by the way that she dresses, doesn't do her nails. There are certain expectations that society has of every one of us. Yet when we fulfill them, we're sellouts, right? Like myself, I was doing a whole shoulder routine earlier this morning, and I thought to myself, this doing this particular set of exercise in the gym goes to show how much we expect perfection in human beings. Like I spent an entire circuit of just making certain that the shoulders were on point. But with that said, I we're going to transition into something completely different and what's on everyone's mind, the impact of the dock strikes. And earlier I said it was in California. I was misinformed. For some reason, I saw the bananas and I thought the other side of the country instead of the east side of the country because they mentioned that there would be a shortage of bananas for some reason. And I associated that with the wrong part. But with that said, Stephen Tran stopped by this afternoon, a friend of the channel for many, many years as I built this brand, and he left a long comment. So I took his comment, put it into the chat GPT, had it churning in there. You know what AI does? It makes stuff good. But of course, AI can make things too good and bad for other people. So today we're going to be talking about three talking points instead of my normal four because I am on a tight schedule this afternoon because I got to get that damn cardio in and I am running out of afternoon. So let me give you guys the topics that I'll be talking about: the impact of automation across industries, the human cost of efficiency, challenges of adapting to technological change. This is a big one for older people, and we're going to go in depth on that particular topic because I've thought about this one for a long time. Last night, while I was watching the video that I made this morning, there was a program called Brilliant that that offers services to upskill yourself, and one of those skills was artificial intelligence and the use of it. And I thought, you know what? Even though I was falling out of my chair with the Pearl beer last night, I could see that that was something that I probably should look into because I need to incorporate more of it into this channel. With that said, let's get into talking point number one. Automation is no longer limited to factory work. It's impacting retail, hospitality, finance, even creative industries. The shift is affecting both blue collar and white collar jobs. So this is part of the dock workers where they want to limit the automation of the docks because other countries have fully automated their docks, their ports of entry into their countries because they know it's much more efficient than having human workers. The fact that we still have human workers doing these types of jobs goes to show that we're falling behind when it comes to other parts of the world. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that there are entire industries that are going to be destroyed by artificial intelligence and automation. If you need a small example, I just went to Kroger's, as I mentioned in the monologue, and there are about 3 or 4 cashiers. There are 3 cashiers working 8 registers that are self checkout. These are machines, these are cashiers that don't need sleep, pay raises, or to be comfortable at work. It's technology doing more for corporations so they don't have to pay workers. That's what automation comes to. And these dock workers see themselves as people that are going to be left in a bygone era. And if they're already struggling at what they're currently making, remember, their average wage is $40 an hour. That is nowhere near the $7.25 that the national minimum wage is. $40 an hour is a lot. Striking for 75% in a job where you're going to be replaced is a is futile. You know that it's coming. And because it's happened in other parts of the world, it's only a matter of time before it comes here. And this isn't like it says, this isn't just something that's going to impact dock workers. This is going to impact everyone because right now, you guys are listening to an AI generated talking points. The images that you guys are seeing in the background, which I have no idea what you guys are seeing right now in the back of this video because I haven't asked the AI to generate them yet. When I get to the end, I put what I've said into the AI and I tell it to make a video based on what I've been talking about. So right now, they're still cooking and they won't be ready until I'm done talking. But that's how fast automation is moving in this world. There are entire YouTube channels dedicated to being created by artificial intelligence. And you guys are watching one right now. So it's not the distant future, it is the current system that is going to take out these jobs for these dock workers. And when humans get scared, what do? They fight back. It's like extinction. Nobody wants to get extinct. And let's say these workers are older. Some of them may have worked in this industry their entire lives. And now you're threatening their livelihood. Of course, they're going to strike. It's either strike or get steamrolled. And that's actually a comment that one of the people that was quoted on CNN said. It's like, if we don't do this now, there may be no chance to do this in the future because they don't want artificial intelligence or automation to take away their jobs. But it's inevitable. Talking point number two. While automation boosts efficiency, it also displaces workers, leading to unemployment, loss of identity for those whose skills are no longer needed in an automated economy. This also goes up to skills such as programming. If you ask an artificial intelligence to make a program for you, all you have to do is give it parameters. Just like I've given it parameters to create this script right now, all you have to do is tell it what to do and it will do it. It will create images, it can write code, it can generate music, it can even generate entire videos based on script. One of my first videos that I made on this channel, which I took down because I thought it was really weird, is I inserted a script and I asked a very powerful artificial intelligence to create the entire video. I didn't like the accents. The character seemed a little strange, and I got copyright strikes on all of the music that he was using in the background. So it's not quite there yet, but it is fully capable of doing things. Deep fakes can clearly show that the AI can learn enough about people in order to recreate them in a very scary way. Like I've seen deep fakes that look extremely real, where if you weren't being told that it wasn't real, that you would believe that it was. And there are people who have sold their likeness to corporations to be used in the future for this purpose. I believe Bruce Willis was one of the first people to sell his appearance and voice to a corporation so that they can use him in an artificial way in order to make content. But this loss of identity for people, this is a big one because there are people who have school teachers, for instance. AI is really good at teaching. So teachers are going to be some of the first things to be displaced in our society by artificial intelligence. You may think, well, isn't that going to leave a lot of people behind? Yes. Artificial intelligence and automation is going to leave millions of people behind with no way of generating an income because most people aren't adaptive. That's something that I've seen with all of my Gen Z workers since I started working at my current job. Adaptability isn't a trait that you can teach people. You have to build it up of your own accord. If you can't do that, then you're going to get left behind, and that means that a lot of people, especially in 30s and their 40s, that have been out of college for a while, are not going to be included in the future of work. And that means that they're just going to be out there roaming because I believe even now we have entire swaths of society that don't have a purpose. Like that girl that I told you guys about that was taking a dump behind the Kroger sign today. It's the middle of the day on Tuesday. In a more perfect world, she would have a good job making a decent salary, but whatever happened in her life that put her on the street taking a number two, well, we don't know the circumstances, but we do know that the circumstances for a lot of people are dire. And that's why those dock workers are prepared to stay out there for a month or two. But there's no way for them to save their jobs. There's no way that we can stop the car makers from building cars because we want to continue selling horseshoes. That's actually something that Stephen Tran said. We can't stop progress because it's going to hurt so many people. Technology's been hurting people since the Industrial Revolution. Once they discovered steam power and machines, the large portion of Americans prior to that worked in agriculture. As soon as the Industrial Revolution took over, they were forced into dangerous conditions in factories in the city where they had to learn how to use machines. And many of them ended up getting severely injured and being forced back home because they could no longer work because they had to find work in places where they didn't know. Worker training isn't something that corporations are really big on. That's why automation is so frightening to so many people because we already know that the investment on the part of the corporation is next to none. They do not want to train. They do not want to offer benefits. They don't want to help poor people out. Poor people are invisible to the corporation. In fact, today my boss called me and he said, "Hey, Millennials team, you want to know how many people we fired this year? Over 1,000 people. And it's October 1st have left this corporation, either willingly or unwillingly, but they're not here anymore. And many of these people probably didn't have other jobs to go to. In fact, this afternoon I had two people text message me simultaneously. One to tell me that she had just gotten fired from her sales job, and the other one to tell me that they can't keep working this hard. She's getting tired. She can't keep working at this level. It's too much. 10 to 12 hours for a person that's only used to working seven 7 hours a day is a lot of work. You're asking that person to do a lot of work in order to make barely enough to live off. And that's something that I'm not okay with. Is how hard people have to work for water and bread because I'm excluding shelter at this point. Shelter has gotten out of the realm of possibility for most people. Like I was telling Gen Z today, his only hope is to move back home and save money by living at home. He didn't like that idea, but he realizes in his head that you have to come to a logical conclusion on your situation. If you're a $15 to $20 an hour worker, there is no housing available for you in this country. When nice homes start at $3,000 a month and you're only bringing down $2,000 from your $15 an hour job or less, remember, as I've said, the national minimum wage, the federal minimum wage is $7.25, with the average rent of a one bedroom apartment being $1,800. You can figure that out. Something has to give. And unfortunately, people are giving up. Like the video that I made yesterday, men are giving up because they see the humiliating uniform and what that gets you. The number one thing that men shy away from is doing work in which they're not going to get love. And the only place that you can really get a lot of love in this country right now that's easy is going to prison. Fleece is always there when you're cold. Moving on to talking point number 3. Retraining and transitioning into new fields isn't straightforward, especially for workers whose jobs have been automated. Many new opportunities require different skills or education that can be hard to acquire while struggling to make ends meet. I'm a person that had to go to school full time and work full time. I could assure you that's not possible by most people. It is very hard to hold down two full time jobs, especially when one job is being a full time university student. When I was getting my literature degree and I was having to work more and more hours, my schoolwork had to suffer. And that's one of the main reasons why I couldn't go on to graduate schools because I was always struggling to get my schoolwork done, always doing worse at school because I had to put school on the back burner. My minimum wage, 40-hour a week job, I had to keep in order to keep a ceiling over my head. I lose my job and then I become a homeless student, which I have been a homeless student and I have met many, I've met dozens of homeless students over the years. They had students that in the wintertime would sleep near the doors of the classrooms because that's the only place they could get enough heat without freezing to death at night. And this is Arizona. And so you have people that are out there that are struggling and that will struggle. Because remember, if you're 30 or 40, and let's say you went to college 10 to 15 years ago, it's no longer applicable. Your career right now is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Whether you like that or not, some of us are already set. Like my current job, I've had to bounce around between a lot of different technology jobs. Even my current job today, when I got called from the director of HR because they had a meeting in which I wasn't invited to, which involved my entire job last night and how I'm supposed to be doing my job. Apparently, I am the gatekeeper of technology for the corporation. That's what I was called in this meeting. And so when HR called to let me know about the details, I was kind of annoyed since I should have been a major part of that meeting, but instead they held it and then told me about it afterwards. How do you have a meeting about a person that's doing a job and not include them? Anyhow, I had to put that in there because I was a little miffed about that. So this whole new opportunities require different skills is something, it's one of those political talking points like ending poverty or a war on drugs. It's something that politicians say, it's something that community leaders say, but it has no real substance in reality. Because how are you going to upskill people who didn't want to go to school in the first place? They're being led into a future that doesn't include them. And they are afraid of that because education for some people is unattainable. I myself, with tens of thousands of dollars worth of student loans, and it is much higher than that. I have reached a point in my life where all of those student loans that I took for a supposed future that included academics. I'm an academic person. I should be working in academics, but I've never made a thin red cent from all of my academic training. I'm out here shaking it on YouTube for you guys because this is the only hope I have of escaping hourly work. So far, the escape seems like the Shawshank Redemption movie where I'm there with my little hammer waiting for years to get through. I mean, I've been on YouTube for 18 years, and this is the first year where I've made any money from this platform only to have my channel taken away and then having to recreate it. This is the type of opportunities we're asking people to do. Not everyone can start a YouTube channel and be successful. In fact, the vast majority of people who are trying to be influencers or YouTubers are never going to make it to a base audience. Now, you could try OF, maybe if you're attractive enough, but even then, your chances of making it, the opportunities in this world to leave the wage cage are very, very small. So the best you can do is make yourself comfortable inside of the wage cage, like I have. I have my bed and I have my toilet. I'm living it up comparatively to other people because this is it. You know, it doesn't get much better than this for us, and there's nothing we can do about it. All right, what am I going to say in toxic positivity? There really isn't much to say other than if you think that the future is good for you, then you really don't know what's coming for you in the near future. And of course, I gotta go because that little noise means I have I have other things I have to do. So I hate to call it here, but I will talk to you guys in a future video. I'm not sure if this is going up tonight because of course I am running out of time as I always am.